Hi, it's Marisol, your rebel guide to living a life of freedom abroad, bringing you an episode of Roaming the Now, where entrepreneurs, coaches, and mentors come together to give you a behind the scenes look at the real and raw experience of setting out to a new country and building a life and business abroad. Make sure to like and subscribe to Roaming the Now. Enjoy! Hello, and welcome to this episode of Roaming the Now. We have a really awesome guest today, Tami Jordan, who is joining us from India. Tami is a mindset and habits coach, correct? Right?
Correct. Yes.
And I'll let you take the details from here.
Hi. Yes, I'm Tammy Jordan. Online, I'm known as the Holistic Habits Coach. I'm here in Darjeeling, like the tea, India, West Bengal, so very sort of northeastern part of India. And I just hit my 10th month of being a nomad, being on the road, being homeless, traveling with my 23-year-old daughter. And it it it's interesting because I was thinking um, it's a little bit the full circle because my whole interest in kind of wellness and spirituality and kind of understanding myself better started when I started traveling um many years ago, decades ago. And now as a coach, so I'll kind of wrap up my introduction as a coach who is really here to help people understand themselves better through self-awareness, through habits, through behaviors, seeing and understanding and acknowledging their behaviors. Um, I found myself wanting to um, obviously coach online, but to get to know people, get past the sort of superficial part of the online industry. And anyway, I'm so happy that that helped me find you, Marisol.
Yes, community is a big thing, and community has been a really, really big theme in all of the conversations. Actually, I've had this week just with some people being on other podcasts, and for our conversations, I think it's really cool. I know that me and you have been in contact for a while. I really was curious. What was your first like experience living abroad?
I'll start by saying my mom was a traveler. My mom was a international traveler when I was a kid in the 60s. Well, I was born in the 60s, but she would go off on these trips and leave us with my older brother or a college student and come back with little gifts from Japan, from Israel, from different places in the world. And I thought that was really, even as a kid, well, weird and cool. So her her interest in traveling and her feelings for what you got from traveling as a traveler, she wanted to pass on, I guess, to myself and my brother. And the very first time living out of the country, I was 10 years old, and we went to a boarding school, lived in the school in France, and that was my first experience of, it was kind of like going off to college at 10 years old, where I realized at some point if I didn't buy toothpaste, I wouldn't have toothpaste. And even though we were little kids, there were older kids there as well, and sort of the older kids helped to take care of the younger ones and reminded me to buy toothpaste and shampoo and soap and all of those things. And so that was my first big experience learning a language, being in a foreign place, also being without, kind of the parental sort of supervision. So it really allowed me to get to know myself as a foreigner and and understand myself through the lens of not just America and American culture, but rather like what it feels like to be foreign, what it feels like to get to know other people's way of living and understandings, um, and language is a big part of that. And and then I after high school, since I felt like I don't know what I want to do, I went back to France again and lived there another couple years. So as a young adult, getting to know myself, travel has always been a getting to know myself. And for that period, it was like I really got to, which I think everybody should do as a young person, have that gap year. I think that's a great idea and experience that other cultures have that America doesn't do so much. But it allowed me to like try on personalities to see what fit me the most and help me understand mostly who I wasn't, and what felt most comfortable as a person, because the 18, I was there from basically 18 to just short of 21 years old. And I tried on all these different personalities and I realized, okay, I'm not the hot, sexy chick, high heels. Yeah, no. I'm not, also not the bookworm, even though I like to read, but I wasn't like that academic per se. I think I decided at that point that I thought I was a bohemian, a hippie. I was kind of like interested in what everybody else was doing and what the world was providing and what was possible.
Awesome. Thanks so much for sharing. I honestly feel like you have a really, really interesting upbringing, and you definitely have a wealth of knowledge when it comes to living abroad, being nomadic, being, did I say nomadic? I meant nomadic. Whoops. Just being, exposed at a really young age, to this life of like explore to expand, right? Like when we go to different countries, when we try different things, I think especially from a really young age, we're able to explore and expand. So if I were to ask you like a question around building your business nomadic, right? Because you've had this past of being nomadic, but now we're adding in the business part of it. And that really is what I wanted to talk to you about today. How did you go about starting your digital nomad business, and like what is that looking like these days?
Right. So I guess I feel like I was, even though I felt like I put a lot of effort in with my job before I left, I was kind of dabbling, or I realized that's what it really was going on because there wasn't enough time to really invest in all of the education and understanding and all of the things. I did coaching programs and stuff like that even before I left, but it wasn't until I left, which, as I said, it was 10 months ago, that I really was able to dive in, um, get a lot of the understandings that I had pieces of as I was accumulating courses and coaches and programs and all the master classes that I could, handle. I think once I was on the road, um, first of all, I realized, um, being a coach is kind of a lonely business. And I wanted to have it be more fulfilling, um, because I felt like that's kind of what was possible. And certainly, just being online and using the internet and Zoom and all of these different ways, WhatsApp, to talk to family and friends, it was like I don't want my business to feel like it was feeling before I left home, kind of working it on a superficial level. I wanted to find community and build that, so that not only would I get fed or nourished from that experience of working with other people, but that I could share that. And so as far as the business aspect of being a nomad, initially it did feel like, how do I how do I care about this coaching business idea if I'm not connecting to people? And anyway, I was working on this idea of a community, and even that, I was having a hard time having that take, having that connect with people. And as I started talking to people in the DMs, then I started really understanding that other people were feeling like I was feeling. I think there's just, I sometimes blame it on the short attention span, but there's just so much out there online to see. And, the whole idea of people connecting to something, you really have to, the hook. I keep hearing people talk about the hooks. You really have to hook them in, so they can hear your message, because even if you have a great message, if they if you don't reel them in some way, it is just it is the hamster wheel, sort of, that the job, the 9 to 5, can also feel like. And so, now that I feel like I'm creating, or I should say building, a community, gosh, it is a whole different ball game. Really, truly a game changer for me personally, but then I also see it for them. And hallelujah, that that was the goal. Um, so I'm working on expanding and building and bringing in more people, and that's the new goal. But yeah, it is really, I think, so important to find your people, and not just be playing the game. It's almost like a chess game, I feel like sometimes, where you're just, I'm doing these things so that I can kind of step over or move ahead, or shift over here. um and I just think it's really important to find your people, and get grounded in, we're on a mission. We're trying to do something. We're all experiencing something together, growing together, and pushing forward together.
All of that is really, really valuable information. And I can agree with you in terms of, being an entrepreneur, but I also think, especially in the online space, is super duper challenging, right? It's really lonely, and that's something that no one talks about. And so, my question for you, because while obviously me and you've connected over the internet, and I've connected with a lot of other people, I've also had the chance now to connect in my community with people face to face. And there is such a difference, right? In this face to face, like, I'm meeting you in person, like, I'm seeing you really, like, in real life, like in full form, versus that whole online aspect where I'm just seeing your profile, right? And maybe I'll see you like on a Zoom call. So I'm really curious, for you in your experience, how has it been building a community fully online?
Yeah, it has been actually kind of better than I even expected it to be. And before I talk about how great it is, um, I do want to say that, I have, even before I started traveling, I was doing, coaching one on one online. So even when people were, in my area, it just worked out to be more convenient. And though I wouldn't say it's better at all, because you don't get all the body language, you don't get all the sort of vibes and all that kind of stuff. But it worked because people were able to say yes to it. Whereas, having to go to a certain place or meet at a certain time, that seemed harder. So there's that. Um, but I think what I want to say about the online community that's happening, that's formed now for me, um, and I've had a coach pretty much, one nonstop since more than a year. But I've been in different coaching programs and so forth. And this program, and I'm biased, is great because, um, all of us, either met through another coaching program or through the DMs. And so, just like with you, um, kind of creating that relationship. And of course, it's not the same as if you were right here with me. But what's kind of fabulous about what's going on with us right now is we've got this private thread or chat where even though we only meet once a week for an hour and a half or so, we have this chat and we are on the chat every day. And every day, whether I'm facilitating the chat or not, they're talking and they're sharing. And um, what's super cool to me is that that can happen, that people can feel connected to not just their business, but to your business. Like, oh, I saw you doing this, or this was really great, or have you tried this? Or someone even asking a tech question, like, I'm trying to get this going so I can, you know, do this launch or what have you. And then for people to chime in and say, have you tried this? And I love this app or what have you. And it really feels like we're well, I didn't say it. One of the members did said it feels like a family. It feels like your chosen family because we're able to really. Uh, someone, for example, said that they were having a hard time at work or was super stressful, and for people to take time out of their day and their business, and some are full-time workers on top of everything else, to chime in and kind of say like, what can I do for you? You know, what do you need? And as a nomad, that's just huge. It's huge because even if I'm not involved in that conversation, I feel the energy that's being reciprocated, that's being shared. So even though we kind of came together with the idea of skill sharing and experience sharing based on business, it's there's more to it than that. And I think that's what people want community to be, but you usually don't find in the big groups on Facebook or even through coaching programs because it's so focused, narrowly focused on what it is that you should be doing, even if it's with your accountability partner. It's like, did you do the thing rather than how are you doing?
Yeah. So, like, from what I'm hearing and what it's sounding like, it's a lot of skill sharing, collaboration. It's all of you who have maybe either, met in the DMs or met through other programs, coming together as you're going through this experience of starting your online business, being digital nomads. And so, what are some of the common struggles that you are finding within your community as you all are working together in terms of the
Um,
business, not amongst
yes,
you? Yes.
right, right, right. They are not nomads. I'm the nomad of the group. But I think the what is the common sort of idea of what's been holding people back or feeling hard, difficult, um, is that there's so much to know. There's so much that we know already, you know, that we've accumulated because we have some people in the membership, like myself, who've kind of been at it for 2 to 3 years. And the feeling that how can it be that we're still not successful yet, you know? And why is it? And what is it that we either don't know because we do feel like we know so much, especially as a group, because there's just so much to know. We have a couple of people who are really more, I won't say new, but still growing in understanding even the social media part. um, but like there's so much to know how to piece it all together, how to make it make sense, and how to, you know, not just inspire and motivate each other, but like how can we work it out so that we all come to an understanding of, you know, this is the road to success. And getting what we want, which is, having full books of full bookings of coaching clients, and for those folks who are still working their 9 to 5 to be able to leave their 9 to 5 and focus on their zone of genius and creativity and the service that they want to provide. So that's kind of our common thread of like, this is what we have to figure out together.
Yeah. And like based on what you're sharing, there's so much information, right? Especially since we live in the information age. And I've been with my mentor on and off, but I think altogether for almost a year now. And my mentor is definitely more of a personal development mentor. We work on shadow work, but we also work on business. And what he has said to me that I've always found really interesting is I actually like don't think you need a business coach until you're ready to scale, because everything you need to know is actually like on the internet or in books. What people are paying for with a business coach is someone to piece it together for them. But I think the flaw in that is you're learning a system that worked for someone else, and it may
Yeah.
not necessarily work for you. And so that's been something that, as we've been chatting around, like I've learned so much just by understanding like my innerscape on like how to build a business that like works for me. Oops, sorry, I feel like I'm gonna sneeze. And little intermissions. And I think that when you have community, right? Like if you have a business coach, great. But when you have community to collaborate with, and I think this is really where there's a big gap in the coaching industry because everyone's competing. When you're able to collaborate and you're able to share, okay, this is what I'm finding, like this is what's working, or maybe someone tries something that didn't work for them, but then you try it and then that works, like for you, like I think that's really, really powerful. Like leaning into this energy of, you know, we all have our different versions of success. There's enough for everyone at the table. So, how can we help and support each other on this journey?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely, and, that is true. We are, taught or shown that, as we look and admire other coaches who look successful, that this is what they did, and if you do that, that's the selling point. If you do what I did, it should work for you as well, but that isn't the case. That's not true. It can't be true because we're all different. We all have different messages, we all have different backgrounds, experiences, and so on. So to have this community and have people be understanding of, this is where you are, this is where I am, you know, maybe you're further ahead. We were talking about that the other day, just how cool it is to be supportive of someone's win, someone's success, and not feel like that should be me, or I'm trying so hard. And my input into the Coach Lab Collective is not just as the founder or whatever, the facilitator, but I provide a mindset, I call it a mindset chat. It's like a 30-minute recording where I'm either providing like, you know, I won't say pep talks, but kind of mindset and mindful practices, some prompts, things like that. And I think what I really love is when I hear them saying how they're putting something into practice or self-regulation, and they're working these steps that I talked about, or what have you, because like you mentioned, when you're ready to sort of, explode your business, you do need someone to kind of show you how that can be done. But as I am always saying as a mindset coach, is like, that's the foundation. If you aren't clear on, which I love that you share that so much, if you're not clear on what you're doing personally, developing yourself, understanding yourself, seeing yourself through a lens of curiosity and being the observer and, being open to your growth versus resisting it, you are on the right track. And on top of that, it helps your business because you're able to make those decisions that feel more true for you. So you aren't just following, mimicking someone else's steps that they made that made them successful, because that might not be the way that you need to do it, and it might not feel authentic. And if you don't feel authentic, your audience is going to know it doesn't feel authentic and not be attracted. So
Yeah, yeah, truthfully, this time and season of my business, I've actually really just been focused on self-expression in my writing. Just really being expressed in the terms of like what is actually coming from me, because that is how you stand out in a crowded marketplace, right? Like there is actually no one else like me. So if I
right.
can express myself from really this, like what's on my heart today, what's on my mind today, like what do I really want to put out into the world? That resonates. And that's how you stand out. And, I feel it now too. I mean, I've cut back. I mean, honestly, I don't use social media anymore. I did like that cleanse, that big detox. And now I really I don't consume it. I still share my stories. I still share, my posts and things like that, but I don't consume it. But when I do maybe fall into a little 30-second scroll, I see the same people copying the same copy and paste formulas. And I'm just like, personally, as someone who's spent so much time now understanding, like, no, it's about your expression and investing in people who really can teach you how to write in a way that expresses. I'm just like, dang it, because like you have so much gold inside of you that's your expression. But I
Yeah.
see you following the copy and paste formula that XYZ coach gave you. And so that's where I'm like, bummer. But then again, I always remember everyone has their own timeline for getting to this place where they're ready to really express what's inside of them and is their essence that makes them unique, as well as like we're all on our own timeline to experience that success in our business. And I think that that's something that takes a lot of like trust, faith, and surrender to know that like it's going to happen when it happens, but you won't know unless you continue on the path.
Right, right. And yes, you mentioned trust, faith, belief. Those words I'm using a lot lately, because you have to, like you said, surrender and know that commitment is pushing you forward, because it's easy to kind of lose yourself because you're trying this. You hope that it will work for you, and I think there is something to doing those, I'll say again, mimicking those people who you admire, because then you do realize, well, I'm doing what you're saying and it's not working for me. And I think that's part of the learning curve too, is to understand just, okay, it's not wrong, it's just not for me. And so understanding that I have to find my way and my stuff. And I'll just brag a little bit and say that in the last couple of weeks, a couple of the members have figured out who they want to talk to and what they want to say, and that's huge. So all of the accumulation of information that they've had, it's been either general or kind of in going a little to the left instead of to the right. And when you do sort of feel like i I got it, or this makes sense, or this feels right, and then I think then you're able to um, stay true to what it is that you want to do and say, and not feel so easily either manipulated or kind of distracted to the shiny thing. You feel like, no, I know, I understand, I claim my way, and are able to then actually take bigger steps forward.
Mhm. Yeah, definitely. Claiming your way of doing business. So, if anyone is interested in getting in contact with you or joining the Collective Lab, right? It's called the Collective Lab?
The Coach Lab Collective.
Oh, you see how my brain.
It's funny because my first sort of launch for it, it was my second launch that was more successful. My first launch, it was just the Coach Lab, and I just I wanted it to be a community, so I added that fourth line of being a collective because I feel like that was important for people to understand that that's what it is. Um, yeah. So, yeah, the Coach Lab Collective is has its own page. I am the Holistic Habits Coach. I have my own page on Instagram, and even though I'm talking about the Coach Lab on both pages, I still do one-on-ones and um, just want uh, to keep building that community, that feeling, that energy, because I think that's what the industry is kind of lacking is a little bit more positive uh, energy, frequency, positivity that's not so me first or individualistic. That's more about let's build it up. Let's all become our best versions so that we can actually help people right now instead of waiting saving up our little pennies so we can work with this huge person who's charging a lot of money. Coach Lab Collective is very affordable because we want you to join us.
I love that you said that. It's really, really important. I'll make sure to add any of your links, and especially specifically those links to the pages for the Coach Lab Collective in the show notes below. Thank you so much. I mean, you're definitely an experienced nomad, not only at present time, but also in the past. And, I always enjoy our conversations. So, again, thanks so much for being here. If you want to follow Tammy's adventures, I highly recommend following her on Instagram because it feels like she's in a new destination like every month, which is for me super fun to see you explore and be in different places and make it work because I see you every day really showing up and making it work being that digital nomad. So until next time, this is your host Marisol signing off on of this episode of Roaming the Now, and I hope that you are enjoying wherever you are in the world. Take care.
Peace.
Thanks for catching this episode of Roaming the Now. If you have not already, make sure to like and subscribe. And as always, wherever you are in the world, I hope you are enjoying Roaming the Now.